Greetings YouTube, and welcome to The Rabbit Hole. Today we are digging into Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut. The film is steeped in Illuminati symbolism, and the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper with each viewing. This video will contain spoilers and graphic content, so consider yourself warned. Follow me down. Here are 5 Illuminati symbols found in Eyes Wide Shut. Number 5. The Mirror. To begin, let's look at the movie's poster. We see Cruise and Kidman kissing, their faces framed within a mirror. To the Illuminati, the mirror, often shown as a fractured mirror, represents the multiple personalities that are formed in mind control victims. If you are not familiar with MKUltra and trauma-based mind control, be sure to watch this video, which will give you background on the CIA program. MKUltra victims develop alternate personalities, commonly referred to as alters, as a way to cope with their trauma-based programming.
Leave me alone!
These personalities can then be controlled by a victim's handler, turning the victim into a slave. Therefore, by framing Kidman and Cruise in a mirror on the movie's poster, Kubrick is telling us that Eyes Wide Shut is in part about government secrets, mind control, and trauma, often sexual trauma, used to break individuals. However, the use of mirrors in this film goes even deeper. Follow me down. The mirror is a magical tool for the Illuminati, who see it as a portal to connect with other spiritual, often demonic realms. Black magic teaches that an individual may summon a demon by using a mirror. He or she can then exchange possession of his or her soul for earthly riches or power.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
You know, with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Just like MKUltra victims become possessed by their handlers in exchange for a seemingly glamorous celebrity status, the elite are possessed by entities from other realms who keep them in power. The simple use of a mirror on the movie's poster tells us that this film is not only about earthly enslavement, but also spiritual possession. Number 4. The All-Seeing Eye. There are many references to the All-Seeing Eye, or the Eye of Horus, in this film. If we look at the back of the dollar bill, we see the eye above the pyramid, illuminated. Money plays a huge role in Eyes Wide Shut. Bill Hartford, as in Dollar Bill Hartford, lives in a world controlled by social status, where money can be used to buy or cover up everything. Drug overdoses, rape, even child sex slavery.
We were invited here by the young lady.
Young lady, it is my daughter. And couldn't you see she is a child?
The illuminated eye on the dollar bill represents the potential each human has, a sort of nirvana state, a place of transcendence and unity. However, we have been dumbed down,
and Dr. Evans puts the medicine under Jimmy's skin.
Information has been hidden from us, and we have become complacent as workhorses, slaves, cogs in a society created by a shadow government. Once again, let's look at the movie's poster. Nicole Kidman is revealing one open eye to us. This single image tells us that she is the one who is enlightened, or is aware of what is going on behind the curtain, most likely from personal experience. Victims of MKUltra trauma-based mind control often develop other characteristics in addition to multiple personalities, such as ESP, or dare I go so far as to call it shining.
My grandmother and I could hold conversations entirely without ever opening our mouths. She called it shining.
Kidman seems to have an all-seeing ability throughout the film. When Cruise can't find his wallet, for example, Kidman knows exactly where it is without having to look.
Honey, you see my wallet?
Isn't it on the bedside table?
In another instance, she interrupts her husband just as he is about to sleep with a prostitute, as if she has remote viewing capabilities.
Hello?
Hi.
Alice may have been an MKUltra victim herself, sexually tortured, her memory impaired.
I was fucking other men. So many.
Alice's face in this image looks horrified, as if she has seen too much. Her remote viewing capabilities are also a reference to Scientology and its work in parapsychology, which has always been of great interest to the CIA for military intelligence. Eyes Wide Shut is heavily entangled with Scientology. Both of the movie's stars were Scientologists themselves. Their Scientologist wedding was officiated by Cruise's auditor, Ray Mithoff. Cruise's best man was David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology. Eternally devout church members who comprised the Sea Org Order supplied free labor to prepare for the ceremony. Kidman came to think of Scientology as a restrictive cult, and by 1997 publicly stated, "I wouldn't classify myself as a Scientologist, but my husband is." Michael Dovin, Tom Cruise's Scientologist handler, was always with the actor and is credited as production associate on Eyes Wide Shut. Dovin is famous in the world of Scientology as being the first person to complete a test on the golden age of knowledge for all eternity. The test involves watching 1,500 hours of videos and reading thousands of works by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. Dovin was once called a robot of Scientology. To this day, Cruise is still a high-ranking member of the church. Interestingly, Kubrick's own daughter, Vivian Kubrick, became involved with Scientology in 1999. Vivian was supposed to score Eyes Wide Shut, but at the last minute refused as she distanced herself from her non-Scientologist family. Stanley Kubrick used Mozart's Requiem in the film. Many have speculated that this was Kubrick's way of remembering his lost daughter. Otherwise estranged from her family, Vivian Kubrick did appear at her father's funeral, accompanied by a Scientologist handler. At the funeral, she supposedly complained of suffering from back pain that was caused 10,000 years ago. When her sister died of cancer in 2009, Vivian Kubrick did not attend the funeral, despite the two being inseparable while growing up. These connections speak volumes to the theory that Eyes Wide Shut is about secret society's ability to mind control and indoctrinate. And what better a symbol to exemplify this theme than the Illuminati all-seeing eye? Number 3. Stars and Pentagrams. At Ziegler's Christmas party, we see prominently placed 8-pointed stars. These stars symbolize the Star of Venus, also known as the Star of Ishtar, named after the Babylonian goddess Ishtar. She is the goddess of love, beauty, sex, desire, fertility, war, combat, and political power. Thus, it seems appropriate that Ziegler and his sexually exploitative elitist friends would worship this goddess behind closed doors.
I think that's my glass.
Oh, I'm absolutely certain of it.
One secret society that historically worshipped Venus was the Hellfire Club. Members held dubious rituals at different locations, including the basement of a church. While the specific activities that occurred at the meetings are not verified, it is known that they gambled, drank, womanized, and made a mockery of religion. Today, many have popularized the belief that the meetings were satanic in nature and included orgies. Regardless of the accuracy of the degree of hedonism, the Hellfire Club is a perfect secret society to reference in Eyes Wide Shut because it embodies the idea that behind the facade, or under the church, lies a dark reality of debauchery. Ziegler's holiday party is also a deception.
Alice, look at you. God, you're absolutely stunning.
Oh.
And I don't say that to all the women. Do I?
Yes, he does. He does.
Behind a happy holiday facade, the party is riddled with drugs, prostitution, and infidelity.
I know I don't have to mention this, but this is just between us.
The entire party itself is a disguise for the sex magic ritual, which is to come later at the Somerton Mansion. The 8-pointed star is also a symbol common in chaos magic, reinforcing that behind the facade of Ziegler's Christmas party lies a deeper magical element. If we look closely at the flower decorations on the wall, we can see that they are made up of small pentagrams. The pentagram is associated with Satanism. Using this symbol to create Christmas decorations is again a subversion of religion, specifically Christianity, and thus indicative of a black mass. The theme of the black mass is further pronounced when a backwards liturgy of Orthodox Christianity is played during the Somerton Mansion orgy. The final scene in the film takes place at a toy store. A toy store is a place meant for children, meant for innocence, learning, and fun. But once again, this scene has a dark underbelly. Peppered with pentagrams, Kubrick insinuates that the toy industry is nothing more than a mind control program. One game, called The Magic Circle, reinforces how black magic is introduced to the young. Magic supersaturates popular children's TV shows and movies. Just think about how many Disney films normalize magic.
The Disney magic.
The end of this scene is particularly disturbing. We see Helena go off with a group of men. They look eerily similar to the group of men in the beginning of the film at Ziegler's party. Alice seems to let this happen because she herself was groomed within this cycle. Her eyes are wide open. Bill doesn't even notice his daughter leaving with the men because once again his eyes are wide shut. Helena will be indoctrinated, brainwashed, and tortured into an MK Ultra sex slave just like her mother. In exchange, she will become a member of this elite world. All of this in a toy store, one of the earliest places of indoctrination. Babylonian symbolism continues to pervade our culture today. Just look at the Statue of Liberty, which is based on the goddess Ishtar. Number 2. The Rainbow. Eyes Wide Shut references rainbows throughout the film. From the models at Ziegler's party telling crews they're going to take him over the rainbow.
Where exactly are we going?
Where the rainbow is.
To Milich's costume shop named Rainbow. The film has close ties with The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy's famous song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy goes over the rainbow. She gets hit on the head, going into a delirium, and winds up in a dream world a long way from home. Bill Hartford goes on a similar journey when he learns that his wife's fidelity is not certain.
And I know you would never be unfaithful to me.
You are very sure of yourself, aren't you?
He falls into a sort of trance and descends into a demonic, dreamlike world. However, the Wizard of Oz connection is not merely used as a parallel. Frank Baum, who wrote the novel The Wizard of Oz, was part of the Theosophical Society, a religion based on mystical and occultist philosophy. Bryce Taylor, an escaped government mind control victim and sex slave, claims that many books and movies, including The Wizard of Oz, are used in brainwashing to trigger specific mind control programs in a victim. She says that victims are programmed not to remember what happens over the rainbow. But thanks to a car crash in 1985, she was able to remember certain aspects of her abuse. 2 years later, she had another accident, which she believes was arranged. She survived this ordeal as well. The experience led to even further and more vivid recall of her abuse. Author Fritz Springmeier, in his book, The Illuminati Formula Used to Create an Undetectable Total Mind Control Slave, writes at length about how the original 14 books and the 1939 movie of The Wizard of Oz were used in mind control. Springmeier points out many interesting connections between The Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum, and the Theosophical Society. For example, Theosophical Society founder H.P. Blavatsky wrote a periodical titled Lucifer, creating another connection between The Wizard of Oz and mind-controlling satanic secret societies. Douglas Monroe, author and founder of the New Forest Center for Magical Studies, writes about the rainbow in his book Druidic Magic. He describes it as a true sign of magic. It exists in both worlds at once. Hence, the rainbow is a perfect metaphor for Eyes Wide Shut, which exists in the physical and spiritual worlds simultaneously. Number 1. Masks. Eyes Wide Shut's most iconic images come from the masked orgy scene. As with all details in a Kubrick film, these particular masks are symbolic and further the film's deeper meaning. The masks are Venetian. The orgy in Eyes Wide Shut closely resembles the aesthetics and spiritual celebration of the Carnival of Venice, which started in 1162. This time of revelry found its roots in ancient Greek and Roman Bacchanalia, Saturnalia, and Lupercalia celebrations, which honored the gods Bacchus, Saturn, and Pan. During these celebrations, civil disorder and moral debauchery reigned. Women ran half-naked through the fields, chased by men in disguise. Homosexuality, gambling, and drunkenness were rampant. Masked nobility were free from their isolation and moral formality. They were able to anonymously mingle and have affairs with commoners. Even nuns and monks would disguise themselves and partake in the celebrations. Oscar Wilde once said, "A mask can end up saying much more about a person than their real face." While masks are used in many celebrations to create anonymity so individuals can let loose without ruining their reputation, I want to turn your attention back to the Hellfire Club, who also partied in disguise. The club, also known as the Order of the Knights of St. Francis of Wycombe, practiced their revelry in the West Wycombe caves built below the Dashwoods' own St. Lawrence's Church. Hellfire members included royalty and politicians, such as Hellfire founder Sir Francis Dashwood, Thomas Potter, the son of John Potter, the Archbishop of Canterbury, John Wilkes, and William Hogarth. Many also believe that Benjamin Franklin visited the caves and partook in their delights, as he was a close friend of Dashwood, visited West Wycombe, and was well known for having a strong appetite for booze and sex. Members of the Hellfire Club were accused of practicing black masses and occultism in the caves. The parish, West Wycombe, is located in Buckinghamshire, England. In the theatre district of central Milton Keynes, also part of Buckinghamshire, the sculpture Dangerous Liaisons by artist Philip Jackson can be seen. Jackson is the royal sculptor to Queen Elizabeth II. The cloaked and masked figures, which look very similar to the disguised crowd in Eyes Wide Shut, are based on the Venetian masked nobility, further solidifying a connection between Buckinghamshire and the eroticism of ancient Venice. What makes these connections even more interesting is that the largest landowners in Buckinghamshire are the Rothschilds. In Eyes Wide Shut, Victor Ziegler says to Hartford after the orgy,
Who do you think those people were? Those were not just ordinary people there.
he is insinuating that behind those masks of debauchery lie some very prominent people of power who publicly appear very clean and formal. Based on all of these connections between nobility, Venetian eros, and anonymity, which culminate in the Rothschild-owned Buckinghamshire, I hypothesize that Kubrick is shedding light on the Illuminati, using the film as his own mask, through which he is able to say much more than would be possible using his real face. Eyes Wide Shut was pre-screened on March 2nd, 1999. Kubrick died 5 days later on March 7th, 1999. Kubrick's contract clearly stated that he alone had final cut of the film. However, Warner Brothers made changes to the film after Kubrick's death. The Warner Brothers edited version of Eyes Wide Shut premiered in theaters on July 16, 1999. There is a lot of debate over what content may have actually been cut from the film. Some claim that one of the missing scenes was Hartford finding a ritual sacrifice room complete with pentagram symbolism in the mansion during the orgy. If true, this shot would add a much more sinister layer to the sex party and imply that the prominent men and women in our world are also involved in sacrifice. Other edits were also made by Warner Brothers following the film's release, such as a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which was played during the orgy scene being deleted under pressure from the Hindu community. The eliminated verse roughly translates to, "For the protection of the virtuous, for the destruction of the evil, and for the firm establishment of the Dharma. I take birth and am incarnated on earth from age to age." These words add a different dimension to the film, making it seem like the masked revelers are there to conjure a spirit. By eliminating this verse, some of the film's dealings with magic, occultism, and sorcery are dulled, shifting the focus of Eyes Wide Shut to marital issues and male-female dynamics, rather than implying that the elite derived their power from supernatural sources like Lucifer. Kubrick's death was supposedly the result of a heart attack, although many believe a much more nefarious reality. March 7, 1999 is the 66th day of the year, and 666 days away from January 1st, 2001. Could Kubrick have been assassinated by the Illuminati on this date because 666 is the numerological symbol for the mark of the beast, and January 1st, 2001 refers to Kubrick's most famous film, 2001: A Space Odyssey? If you are interested in learning more about Stanley Kubrick, watch my video called Moon Landing Faked. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and if you support this channel, donations on Patreon would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep digging.